Disability advocates are calling on the government to enforce anti-discrimination laws to ensure assistance dogs and their handlers are treated equally by taxi and rideshare drivers. The call to action comes after taxi and rideshare refusals continue to be an unfortunate regular occurrence for those living with low vision and blindness. A new report by Ernst & Young, commissioned by Guide Dogs Australia, has revealed guide dog handlers are more likely to face access refusals or barriers in public. Almost half of Australians living with low vision and blindness have experienced a refusal with a taxi or rideshare company in the past 2 years. The report also found that 34% of people with low vision and blindness have had their rideshares cancelled, and 15% of people were ridiculed or discriminated against. Under federal anti-discrimination laws, all assistance dogs are guaranteed access to public places, including taxis and rideshares. And drivers who refuse service can be fined up to $2,500. To tell us more, we are joined by Connection Specialist at Guide Dogs Australia, Ingrid Barnes, and her Guide Dog banner. Ingrid, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I imagine that this kind of discrimination is something that you've experienced firsthand more than once. Tell us what it's like to be on the receiving end of that.
Look, it's a very uncomfortable experience to go through, and to be quite frank, I expect it to happen whenever I'm booking a taxi or rideshare ride. It's something that more than 50% of our clients experience. I'd say it's a weekly occurrence. It's very common, it's very frustrating. And depending, say it's in the evening, you know, it's a really uncomfortable thing to go through if you're on your own. Even if you're with friends though, it's just, you may just be treated as other, basically, and it's very uncomfortable. And I'm more than happy to stand and advocate for myself with these drivers and hopefully have that conversation. But there have been many cases where the cars just drive off and leave you stranded without a word, or actually just insult you first and then drive off and refuse service.
A weekly occurrence. I mean, that is so unacceptable. As well as refusing rides, I mean, how does this discrimination manifest? What kinds of other behaviours are you having to deal with?
So often it comes down to a lack of education, a lack of understanding about what a guide dog actually is and their rights as a mobility aid. So other sort of things that I come across quite often are refusals simply to go to a cafe, a restaurant. From somewhere very casual to fine dining, you come across wait staff who will just point blank either refuse you at the door or wait till a member of your party has left you alone at your table and approach and ask you to leave.
And in terms of these rideshare and taxi drivers, I mean, currently there is that $2,500 penalty.
Yes.
Do you think these drivers are ignorant of the rules or deliberately ignoring them?
I think it's a deliberate choice to ignore the rules. I think it's a common thing to know now that that is the case. There is a finable offence for refusal. But the fact remains is, you know, we have these companies who put out a great party line about supporting those with guide dogs. And yes, we absolutely want to take you in our cars. But the drivers on their own feel like they've got more opportunity to act independently and refuse, particularly when it comes to rideshare because it's their own vehicle. And also if they have any cultural biases as well, it can be an issue. So it's wonderful to have that fine, but we really need to make sure it's enforced and also just make reporting of refusals much easier because it's actually really hard.
That was going to be my next question. I mean, what is the process when you've had a bad experience? How do you report a driver?
It depends. So say it's taxis, usually the app itself allows you to go to customer service and file a complaint. Now, mind you, I recommend all guide dog handlers do this. Whenever I book any sort of rideshare app or a taxi, I always screenshot that booking once it's been confirmed with the driver, so I immediately have those details in case I need them. That's an automatic thing I do every time. And then once you've filled in that form, you get given a case number, but you never hear back. It's been almost 2 months since my last real complaint went through to 13 cabs, haven't heard anything. And similarly with Uber, Uber is very hard to file a complaint. You have to go all the way through to unsafe driving in the complaint section to even leave a written comment. Otherwise, it's just checking boxes, which makes life very difficult, particularly if you can imagine doing this with low vision or blindness.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it seems like there's an onus that needs to shift from guide dog owners feeling like they need to educate everyone they encounter to service providers and people who are providing these services. Do you think there needs to be better training? Is that part of the solution?
For sure. Look, at Guide Dogs New South Wales, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of industry training, particularly with transport for New South Wales. So we often have an orientation and mobility specialist and a lived experience presenter like myself go out to the training centre out at Petersham and chat to people who work all the way through the rail network, whether they be customer service agents or drivers or guards. And having that education, we've definitely seen an improvement in services for all our clients going through the rail network. We used to also do that with drivers before the bus depot is privatised, and that was a big shift as well. So we know there is proven results if we can get in the room with these people. And whether that's a video that they get to watch and listen to and then maybe have to talk about, or having us actually in the room with them to have those conversations. Because I'm all about advocacy. I'm always happy to do it myself, but the next person with a guide dog may not have the confidence and might be quite scared on their first refusal. It's embarrassing, it's upsetting, you're made to feel like basically rubbish. So having that in place in the training itself and seeing some real follow through would be amazing.
And obviously that follow through with the complaints process is
exactly
a really important part of that.
Yes.
And you mentioned restaurants as well. What are some other places where you encounter discrimination on a regular basis, where you think people need to be better informed about what the rules are?
For sure. Look, ultimately, I think the general public needs to remember as well that guide dogs are allowed access pretty much everywhere you can imagine going with your friends somewhere. So whether that be a restaurant, whether that be Taronga Zoo, where I was with my guide dog yesterday, you know, it's really important that people keep that in mind so that they then can speak in support of someone when they are facing those discriminations. I've heard of some horrible cases where people have been refused access to a hotel that they have booked. Because again, we are allowed in these places. We shouldn't have to fight to get into them, basically. Overall, I've been pretty good at standing up for myself. And Banner, upsit, Banner, upstand. Just so you can see him a bit better on camera. This boy is a very calm, gentle soul, and the last thing he's going to do is bother anyone at a restaurant. All he's going to do is just fall asleep under the table. He's trying to fall asleep again right now. These dogs are incredible, and it's so important they're let into those spaces so that someone can access the community.
Ingrid Barnes and Guide Dog Banner, thank you so much for your time today. Really insightful conversation.
Thank you for having me.